to say welcome, everyone. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat box and we'll come back to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I will pass on to the NFU Mutual guys while I start to think about buying new earphones. You've got the slides there, so can you just put them up for me, please? Because I cannot.
Yeah, 1 second. There we go. Can everyone see and hear me okay? I'll take that as a yes, but please, please drop me a note if I'm on if I drop out at any point. Welcome everyone. Thank you for everyone that has dialed in. So my name is Olivia Saddleton and I work at NFU Mutual. I am a talent development specialist and I oversee our graduate programmes and other early careers offerings. I also have with me today Katie and Dan, who will introduce themselves a little bit later to help with this presentation today. So just to talk through the agenda, I know I'll be here for about an hour. I'm going to talk you through, first of all, who are we at NFU Mutual? What's the company? What do we do? Importantly, what graduate programmes do we have? We will hear from a current graduate, Dan, who's on programme at the moment. We will then hear from a previous graduate, Katie, who was on programme a few years ago and has now developed through the business. I will then touch on just some other early careers offerings that we have in case any of you are interested. And then at the end, we will open up for questions. So who are we at NFU Mutual? So NFU Mutual, also known as the National Farmers Union Mutual, was founded in 1910 by 7 Warwickshire farmers. And since then, we've become the UK's leading rural insurer. Our portfolio has evolved over the years, and whilst the rural community and farmers remain a top priority for us, we also offer a host of other insurance products such as car, home, pet insurance, and so on. We operate as a mutual business, which means that we're much more concerned about the long-term interests of our members than we are about short-term profits. So we're not owned by shareholders. Our profits do not go to shareholders. Instead, our profits all go back to our members in the form of a mutual bonus every year, which means we have a really strong focus on our customers. We operate our general insurance model through a network of tied agents who are located all across the country. And these are able to provide specialist advice for our customers who often have very complex needs. These agents are self-employed, but they're supported by our regional service centres located across the country. And as well as insurance, we also provide financial services. So we have financial advisors who offer advice on things like life assurance, investments and pension products. And these are supported by our non-advised sales consultants who will provide financial services, but without offering any specific advice. So what's our strategy? At the very centre of our strategy wheel is the statement, we protect and enhance the lives of our customers and rural communities by delivering a local, personal and attentive service that is second to none. And this is underpinned by our 3 strategic pillars. So firstly, sustainable, profitable growth. We have a long-term view of the business. So we aim to continually grow the success of our farming markets and then replicate this in other niche sectors of the market. And we also have a very strong investment strategy. So we have an asset portfolio of roughly £22 billion, which is managed by a dedicated investment and property management team. Secondly, a great company to do business with. So customers are at the heart of everything that we do. So we really prioritise delivering excellent value to customers whilst ensuring that we're operating as a responsible business. And finally, great place to work. So we instill a winning performance culture at NFU Mutual. We have a highly engaged workforce with strong leadership development. And in 2023, for the 7th year running, we have won, again, the Gallup Exceptional Workplace Award, which means that we're in the 99th percentile across the globe in terms of engaged employees. So it really is a great place to work, as so the data says. And then I'll just finish off with some key facts about the business. So our head office is based in Stratford-upon-Avon, but we also have regional offices across the country. So we have one in York, in Bristol, in Cardiff, in Glasgow. We employ roughly 4,000 people, so it's a big business. That's only our employed staff. So as I mentioned earlier, we operate through a network of tied agents, and we have over 300 agencies all across the country who sell our insurance products on behalf of us. So yeah, that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the company and what we do. But now I'm going to move on to the bit that I'm sure you're all here for, which is what graduate programs do we offer? So we have many different programs that span many different areas of the business. All of our schemes are 3-year structured programs, and the aim is to then offboard you at the end of this into a permanent role of your choice. So if you come onto our graduate program, we want to keep you at the end as well. Some of our schemes are rotational, and we'll see you complete a series of placements throughout different areas of the department, whereas others are more technical specialist roles, where you'll come in, you'll complete one specialist role throughout the scheme, but you'll also have that structured training plan in place for you. So you'll see on the slide, I've attached a QR code, which will take you to our website, which has little drop downs of all the schemes that we've got with some information on, so you can find out more. And I've also included a web link for you at the bottom, if for whatever reason the QR code's not working or you can't access it. But I've also put some of our schemes on the slide for you as well, from what you can see. And I'm not going to talk you through the detail of every single one of them, but I will just run through a couple for you. So rotational schemes, so we have sales and agency. So this scheme is either based in our head office, but we also operate this scheme regionally. So we have multiple different regions across the UK where graduates can go. So please don't be put off if you're not based in Stratford-upon-Avon, you can still apply to a graduate programme. And the sales and agencies team will essentially see you providing support to our agency selling network, becoming an effective seller, developing important customer relationships to help meet people's insurance needs, and building your business management skills. As another example from one of our rotational schemes, customer services. So this will see you complete a series of rotation in aspects like claims, underwriting, customer service operations, to really give you excellent exposure to varied insurance activities to become an experienced insurance practitioner. If I now focus on a couple of our technical schemes, so pricing analyst. So this would suit any of you who love data analytics. So you'd be extracting and analysing data for use in modelling, refining these models, and then reporting results to really enable important business pricing decisions. Whereas our pricing design and development scheme, that's probably will suit those of you who are more into your IT and tech, and you really want to develop your sort of coding, your software engineering skills, as well as your people and project management skills. And this scheme will see you sort of designing and developing pricing algorithms to support the wider pricing team. And then, as you can see, we also have other roles in things like finance, data analytics, actuarial, different IT schemes. So please check out our website for some more information on all of these. In terms of entry requirements, you will see on the website, it details the different entry requirements for the different schemes. So some of these schemes will require relevant degrees. So for example, if you were applying for one of our analytical schemes, it might require more of a sort of mathematical or sort of statistical background for a degree, whereas some of our more IT or design and development schemes might require a little bit more of a technical degree. But not all of them do. So, for example, sales and agency customer services, any degree is absolutely fine. What we're more looking for, and the most important thing we're looking for in graduates, is the right attitude. People who are willing to learn, who are willing to give everything they've got to the scheme and just throw themselves in to be one of our future leaders. In terms of degree requirements, so most of our schemes, it's a minimum of a 2-2. Some of them are would prefer a 2-1. So please do, again, look at our website for a little bit more information on the entry requirements. So that is an overview of the different schemes. And as you can see, that we do have a wide range of schemes across the business, but they all have several things in common. So we have a really strong focus on development on our schemes. So and each scheme will see you having technical, leadership and personal development. So to talk you through a little bit more of the technical development, Every single one of our graduates, when they join, will complete the level 3 certificate in insurance. And this is a qualification that will just give you a really big exposure to the insurance industry. So you'll learn what the different insurance functions do, how it all pulls together, and therefore how our business operates. So even if your scheme isn't specifically focused on insurance, it's a really, really useful qualification that all our graduates will have, which will help them sort of feel embedded into the company. But then we also offer some scheme-specific qualifications for our graduates. So whichever scheme you'll do will be aligned to a specific qualification. So for example, if you were to join our finance team, you might do your CIMA accounting qualification. In more of the analytical schemes, we'll get you to do a data analytics qualification, maybe Prince 2 if you're focused more in an IT project management. So it's really important to us that we give you the opportunity for those professional qualifications. And these are often delivered via an apprenticeship standard, which will see you sort of gaining practical on-the-job training as well as that professional qualification. So that's the technical development. And of course, this will also just develop on the job. You're learning new stuff all the time. But we also offer leadership development. So all of our graduates undergo a structured leadership development course that lasts through the 3 years of the programme. And this will see you undertaking courses and training in aspects such as resilience, presentation skills, effective influencing, coaching skills, change management, consultancy skills. There's others as well. So it's really, really important when we bring graduates in that we are setting them up to be leaders of the future. We really see them as an important talent pool that we're looking to retain and just promote throughout our business. So we get really good feedback on all our leadership development offering. And then as well as that, there's personal development for all our graduates. So everyone will have a structured, tailored personal development plan. But all our graduates also complete what we call insights, which is essentially a survey you undertake that creates you a personal profile that really helps you drill down into what are your strengths, what are your potential development areas, what's your communication style, what are your preferences, therefore how do you work best, what sort of roles are you going to thrive in, and how do you communicate with other people. So all of our graduates will complete all of this training. Of course, it will specialise differently depending on what scheme you're on, but there is really a solid structure to all our graduate programmes. And it's important to note for you all that our graduates all form a really big cohort. So I think one of you's asked the question of how many grads are taken on each year. So that does slightly depend year on year. Last year we took on 37 in our business, so a large number of graduates. You'll all complete as graduates the various training courses together and form that really close cohort and community throughout the year. So I can assure you that you'll never feel alone on your scheme. You'll really develop that community of graduates across the programme. So that is an overview of our programmes, but what is our graduate recruitment process? So the first step is to complete your CV and application form. Now, if you go via the QR code that I put on a previous slide, that takes you to our graduate landing page. It has all the schemes that we have on offer, and with all of them, there is an apply now option. And then that just takes you straight through to our application form. So that's the first stage. Really think about your sort of CV, tailor it to NFU Mutual. Think about why you want to be with us and what skills you can bring and how can you showcase that to us. If you make it through that stage, we will then send you a video interview and some SHL tests. And again, with the video interview, it's really, really thinking about why NFU Mutual. I've given you an overview earlier today about who we are. So think, what is it about NFU Mutual that I would want? What is it about the scheme that I would want? And what can you bring to really make you stand out? If you make it through that stage, you'll be invited to an assessment centre, and these will take place in December. And then if you're successful through the assessment centre, you'll have your final interview in January, which will then hopefully result in a job offer shortly afterwards. And the intake of graduates will then start next September. So you're applying now for September 2024 start date. So our graduate applications close on Friday the 10th of November. I would highly encourage you to submit an application early. Our schemes are very popular. We do receive a lot of applications. And if we receive a sufficient amount, we do hold the right to close early. So if you're interested, I'd really encourage to get your application in as soon as possible. You've heard a lot from me. I would now like to pass over to Dan, who is a current graduate on scheme and is just going to talk to you a little bit about his experience so far. And yeah, so Dan, whenever you're ready, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Liv. I'm assuming you can hear me. I'm assuming I'm on.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Cool. Right, yeah, so as Liv said, guys, my name's Dan, and I joined NFUM about just over a year ago now, so in September last year, on the risk graduate scheme. I think really in the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes, all I'm going to try and do is just really condense down and give you a whistle-stop tour of what it's like being a grad at NFUM, give you a flavour of the things that I've experienced and what I've really enjoyed, and hopefully make things a little bit clearer for you, when you're coming to this stage now, looking at careers and looking at what you want to do. I think probably the best place for me to start is actually if I take it back to when I was in your shoes. So I remember, I'm assuming you guys are sort of partway through your studies or coming towards the end of them. I remember being in that position myself. And if I'm honest, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, career-wise, industry-wise, job-wise, company-wise. I had lists and lists of different grad schemes and companies to check out. And I just found the whole process so daunting and terrifying, the idea of what do I want to do for the rest of my life. I think the way I sort of got through that, and, perhaps, if you want to steal this, go for it. That's why I put it on the slides, is I came up with 3 things that I wanted from a company, from any career I was going to have for the rest of my life. What were kind of my big 3 priorities? And I've got them there on the slides there. For me, it was progression, development, and basically being around nice people and, being able to have a social life or being able to enjoy, the company culture that I'm in. Those were the 3 things that I really sort of pulled out of everything and said, that's what I want from whatever job I apply to, for whatever scheme, to whatever company. I think pulling together that list for me is what drew me to NFUM. And, I'll go through each of those 3 things and how I think NFUM's helped me. But, in short, pretty much from day one, I was my expectations were blown away. And I feel really corporate and cringy saying that. But genuinely, NFUM has given me all 3 of those things and so much more. And I've only been there just over a year now. So, progression, for example, if we start with that one, it's really, really transparent and really clear at NFUM in terms of levels and like pay grades and things and everything like that. And, from day one, like Olivia said, they say to you, we're training you up to be our future leaders. We want you to be, achieving this in this much time. And throughout your whole time on scheme, you're so well supported. There's someone, different kind of levels of management talking to you at every different point, saying, right, where do you want to be in 3 months? What does 6 months look like? How are your objectives doing? Is this piece of work good for you? How's your well-being? Everyone is really you really feel like you're being pushed kind of up the stairs in a way. Like people are really trying to get you, from the level you join at to be that next level, to keep growing and to keep progressing. I think it really is kind of testament to the fact that the majority of sort of like the senior managers I come across and a lot of the people just, who've been there, they've all been there for sort of well over 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of them started themselves like I did as a graduate and have just stayed. And I think that really shows that it is a company that is, it sort of wants to invest in you and it wants you to keep going and keep growing if that's, what's right for you. I think my second point there, development, I probably don't need to touch much on because, Olivia's, shown you that slide just before. We do so much as graduates in terms of training, whether it's learning soft skills or hard skills, technical skills. We're constantly attending workshops and training things and literally, everything from a 1-hour virtual webinar that we all just sign into to, 2-day sort of in-person courses where we're up and we're all together and we get to meet up. There's so much development opportunity and you're really encouraged to take that. I definitely find that as a grad, it's not one of those places where, if they're offering you a qualification, it's but you're doing this in your own time. NFUM is very, all your managers will support you and, give you that time away from your team to get what you need to get done and really help you to grow as a person. And I think that last point there for me, I've put on a social life. It maybe looks like maybe the most immature one. Maybe it's not as important to some people. But personally, for me, I am really motivated by being around good people. I worked a job just before joining NFUM, fresh out of uni, where I was in a really small team, and it was a perfectly good job. But I did a lot of sort of the lonely lunches by myself, or just talking to the two people I sat with, and it really made me realise that I do thrive off sort of being around people who want to talk and want to sort of get to know you. And being a grad at NFUM is a really, really sort of friendly, positive experience. I've got some photos on the slides there that you can hopefully have a look at. Probably the ones in the top left are that's my scheme. We've been on like 2 little trips away together, and that's sort of a good 20-25 of us who've done that. And it was pretty much from day one, from our induction, where we all came together. I don't know how many of us were in my year. It's probably about 28 of us, all quite nervous, fresh faced, sort of 20-somethings, and we pretty much from day one just instantly gelled. Everyone's different, everyone's diverse. We've all come from different areas. We're all doing different things. But what we all have in common, and what the people generally at NFUM have in common, is everyone is just really friendly, really helpful, always wants to kind of, if you want to talk to someone, they'll drop what they're doing to, help you out, or, guide you to where you need to get to. And it really, I think it makes, for me, I can say sort of 13 months on, it makes such a difference when it's, you're thinking about, waking up in the morning and going into work. You actually will, want to go into work because your friends will be there. You'll sit with them. You'll see some at lunchtime. You can go for a coffee. You'll be working with them in your team. It is a really, really sociable grad scheme in that sense. And it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, whatever kind of level you want to kind of, what's the word? Engage with that is, absolutely right for you. There's always something going on. We're always seeing each other. We're always talking. We always go out for food and drinks. It's a really, really friendly place to be. I think those 3 things, were my big 3 things, and they drew me to NFUM. And I can definitely attest to the fact that that's what I've experienced so far. And I'm only partway into my grad scheme. It's just continuing to get better and better. From a more sort of professional side of things, the work you get involved with is really, I would describe it as you're kind of involved in work that is the level above you. So I know some grad schemes and some companies, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but I've got friends who work for the companies, and they spend their lives just sort of fixing spreadsheets and, altering slide decks for like their managers. And I've, none of us have that experience really. Obviously we do a little bit of admin work, but we all have our names on big projects or big reports, or we get to give big presentations or get out and do stuff. So like in the bottom right corner there, that was actually me at the University of Exeter's careers fair. That was only a week or so ago, but it's just an example of the sort of things, you get involved in so many external things as grads if you want to. At bottom left was us giving a presentation to the next year's cohort. So we had to run a day for them, basically get them all together and just get to know each other, have some fun, do some leadership activities. There's so much variety of work you get to put your name on, because all your managers are really committed to getting you good things on your CV, and basically, getting you shaped up and geared up to basically make that jump to the next level or the next position or that permanent position at the end of scheme. I don't really know what more I can talk about, to be honest. I've had a really, really good time. And as I said, I'm only a year in. I've started to now get an idea of what I might want to do at the end of scheme. I've started to sort of talk to managers and, map out my career. And that's the experience a lot of us have all got, and we all talk and we all compare, what we've got, whether my friend in HR or my friend in pricing or my friend in underwriting, we all kind of have that agreement that, there seems to be so many different people who are sort of invested in us and trying to help us map out our future, which I just think takes so much of the stress out, and certainly was one of the things that I was really stressed out about when it came to just jobs and careers. And I think that's probably about everything I can say. It's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I think it nicely leads on to Katie, who I'll hand over to, who I'll let her introduce herself because I will mess it up. But she was a graduate and is now, thriving in her career. And I'll let you say it, Katie. Go over to you.
Thanks, Dan. I hope you can hear me. Please shout if you can't.
I can hear you.
Fab, brilliant. Well, thanks so much, Dan, and thank you, Olivia, as well. So Dan's told you a lot about what it's like as a current professional trainee and a current graduate. I actually joined NFU Mutual in 2017 on what was the only IT scheme offered at that exact moment, which was IT and business management. We've changed it up a little bit since then. So just thought I'd give you a flavour of, okay, so once you finish the scheme, what's next for you? Which might seem like quite a long way off for you guys, but it's definitely something worth considering when you're looking at graduate schemes. So I finished and completed my scheme in 2020, having completed some short-term placements, 3 long-term placements, 4 professional qualifications, in addition to that certificate of insurance that Olivia mentioned earlier. That's compulsory for all professional trainees on all schemes, that give you that good insurance background. And also completed a number of soft skills qualifications and soft skills development courses as part of the scheme as well, which Olivia alluded to earlier. And I came off scheme onto an IT project manager role. It's crucial to note, and Olivia touched on it earlier, but here at NFU Mutual, we're not just one of those companies that's right, you do your 3 years on scheme, and then if you don't find a permanent role, you're gone. We are not like that at all. You are guaranteed that permanent role once you complete the scheme, and that's a role of your choice. And the offboarding experience is very smooth. You've got that support from the learning and development department that Olivia works in, and they support you through that offboarding process, and then they support you even after the scheme. And I really want to touch on what Dan was talking about earlier, about that social side and that PT community. Even after you finish the PT scheme, if you meet another current PT, a past PT, there's that mental sort of nod, that invisible nod that you've both been through the scheme, or you're both on the scheme, and you can talk to each other about your experiences on the scheme. You can have a trusted friend in them. You can talk to them about your career. You can use them as mentors. And it's a real good sense of a community within the PTs across NFU Mutual, past and present. So depending on what scheme you go in, depends on obviously what professional qualifications are offered to you as part of the scheme. You have the opportunity to seek out professional qualifications yourself if any you're particularly keen on doing, that potentially aren't offered as default as part of the scheme, that might complement your specific career. Speak to your learning and development department about it. And I just want to touch on the development leadership programs that are available to you after the scheme as well. So I completed the professional trainee scheme in 2020. In 2021, I did a further development leadership scheme, which was called the Developing Leaders Program. That is something that NFU Mutual work with third parties. So that's a 12-month program. So I did that between 2021 and 2022. And it provides you with theories and tools to be a great leader within the business. And I was really able to draw on a lot of the courses and skills that I learned as part of the professional trainee scheme as part of that program. So during the Developing Leaders program, I moved roles from IT project manager to an IT business relationship consultant, which is what I do now within the IT business relationship management team. Now, it's a very fancy phrase for IT business partner. So it's my role now to look after and be that single point of contact for an IT personnel for all of our customer services division. So it's making sure our claims and underwriting departments have the right IT systems and the right IT kit to do their job and continue providing that excellent customer service that we're known for at NFU Mutual. So following the completion of DLP in 2022, I've had the opportunity to continue and develop my skills as a manager. So I headed up the IT graduate scheme between 2022 and 2023. Handed that over earlier this year, but I continue to manage 4 of the professional trainees that have just gone into their second year on scheme. And alongside my day-to-day management role, I also have had the opportunity to do coaching courses, mentor courses, and actually have a number of mentors across the business that I support as well. So what the message is that I'm trying to deliver is that even after the grad scheme, NFU Mutual continues to support your development, and you can work with different parts of the company to develop and tailor your own career development and your own career goals. So I'm now going to pass back to Olivia, who's going to touch on some other early careers options and for closing remarks.
Thank you. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Brilliant, brilliant. Just before I get to the early careers of other offerings that we have, I just wanted to talk you through some hints, tips and advice for those of you who might want to apply. So I know it might sound cheesy, but a really, really big one is just be yourself through all stages of the process. I think, as Dan mentioned in his slide, we do recruit a really diverse range of people. So we're not necessarily looking for one type of person. We're looking for whoever that is that makes you a future leader. So really, really don't try and fake it. Be yourself and just showcase that through the application process. Really do your research about NFU Mutual. So what we want to see is we want to understand why you want to work for us specifically. What is it about NFU Mutual that's really, really drawing you in? And we will be asking you that throughout the process. So really make sure you've done that research. And be clear about why you want that specific scheme that you're applying for. So whilst, as I've said, all the programmes undergo a similar sort of structure, they are very different. So someone that's applying for a data analyst scheme, for example, might have completely different skills than someone who is applying to our customer services scheme. And that's fine. So be really, really clear on what it is about that scheme. What is it you want to get from it? And why is that scheme attracting you? And we want to see what makes you stand out. So, when you're submitting your application or thinking about some answers, what is it that you've done? What makes you stand out? What can you bring to the company and the scheme that can really showcase that you're ambitious, that you want to be a future leader? So really, really think about all that and just be inquisitive and don't be afraid to ask any questions. So we have our contact details on the website. You can reach out and ask questions if you want to know more. We're keen to hear that from you because we want you to have the best opportunity that you can through the process. We're never going to try and trick you at any stage. It's always giving you the opportunity to just showcase the best you can be. So that's my hints, tips and advice, and I will pass over a bit later on to Dan and Katie if they want to share any as well. But also, so we've talked a lot about the graduate schemes, which is I'm sure what you're all here for, but I just wanted to very briefly touch on some of our other early careers that we have at NFU Mutual in case this interests any of you, because we do offer various early careers pathways. So as well as graduate schemes, we also offer apprenticeship programs. And I think there is a common misconception a lot of people have that these are purely aimed for school leavers. That is not true. I mean, they are aimed at school leavers as one of our target audiences, but we also offer sort of graduate level apprenticeship programs, there's master's level apprenticeship programs, and regularly throughout the year we'll recruit onto different apprenticeship schemes, and these can fall in areas such as claims, business analysis. We had data analyst apprenticeship schemes starting a few months ago, and various others. So I've popped our main careers site at the bottom of this page. So if you would be interested in a little bit more of a practical learning, then we offer that as well. So please keep an eye out for that. And the other scheme that we have, which might be of interest to you, is a summer internship program. So as I said, our graduate schemes that we're recruiting for at the moment will be starting September 2024. I'm not sure if any of you listening to this potentially are graduating at a later date than that, and therefore you wouldn't maybe be eligible for this year's program. But what we do offer is internships, and these are typically aimed at penultimate year students, but we would be open for applicants in first year or final year if sort of you're the right fit for the role. So these are 8-week structured programs, and they run from sort of mid-June to mid-August. We have them again in many different areas across the business. So last year we had ones in data, IT, actuary, audit, press and PR, sales. So all many different areas. And sort of successful completion of the 8-week program might see you fast track through the graduate application process as well. So as I say, if you're maybe not looking to graduate next summer, but you're still interested in NFU Mutual and you want to find out more, then that's something I would definitely recommend you looking into. We will go live for applications for them sort of December, January time. So keep an eye out on our website for that. And just the one other thing I wanted to mention, I think between Dan, Katie and I throughout this throughout this slideshow, we've referred to the word PTs quite a lot. And just for any of you that don't know what that means, we call internally our graduates are known as professional trainees. It's just an internal title. It's our graduate scheme. But if we've been using the word PT, then that's what that means. So yeah, that is it in terms of, sort of key information from me. But would love to take questions from any of you. So I can see a few have popped up already on the chat.
Yes, we've had quite a lot come through.
Oh, fantastic. Well, over to you
Thank
then.
goodness you can hear me now. My goodness. It was my whole, sometimes these earphones, I need to get new ones. If they cut out, you know, the way, because if you sign up for a webinar, you have to have the same piece. So if they cut out, they just put you on mute. So everyone, I am Andy from Career TV. Even if you didn't hear, we'll crack on into your questions, shall we? Gemma, first one, she says, do you recruit grads in all locations?
Yes, we do. So the majority of our graduate programmes are based head office in Stratford-upon-Avon. However, we do have some schemes that are national based. So particularly our sales and agency scheme, we hire graduates in all regions of the UK. So we have grads in Belfast, in Scotland, South East, South West, North East, North West, you name it, wherever you are, there will be a scheme in sales and agency for sure. And another important thing to note is, if you live, there might be a scheme where it's based in Stratford-upon-Avon, but if you live like a little bit away, we do operate on what we call an 80-20 informal home working model, where essentially our policy is that people are required in the office 1 day a week, so 20% of the time, and the other 80%, as long as it aligns with business need, we allow you to work from home. So I think you can probably see that this is a work day. Dan, Katie and I are all not in an office environment due to that model. So it's not like you have to live in Stratford necessarily to do our schemes. There are exceptions to that. So sometimes if you have training, or sometimes particularly when you start and we want to get you sort of inducted into the role, then you might be required in a little bit more. But it's not, you don't necessarily have to live in the immediate vicinity to be able to come and do one of our schemes. Very, very good.
Alan says, can you put the link in the chat? Well, we can just go back to the...
Yeah, I can do that. That's no problem. Just leave that with me 1 second.
I'll go back to that. I'll go on to the next one, sure. Aaron says, can degree apprentices join the grad scheme?
What do you mean? So people already doing a degree apprenticeship?
I guess people who already completed the degree apprenticeship, can they then go on to do the graduate scheme? Yeah,
I see no reason why not. That should be fine. We do open our graduate programs to some internal applicants as well. So if you come in and done a degree apprenticeship, we wouldn't necessarily say no as long as you meet the requirements.
Okay. Here's a question from Haley. She says, hello Haley. What are some of the challenges and opportunities currently facing the insurance industry, and how does the graduate scheme prepare participants to address these? Wow.
That's a testing question.
I was going to say I could kick off if you want from an IT perspective. So I think one of the main challenges facing the insurance industry at the moment is around the use of AI. And AI is a term that I know gets thrown about a lot, but what we're seeing more and more, especially with fraudulent claims and the use of AI or any kind of IT system, what we're seeing with regards to some fraudulent claims is people are editing pictures, documents. They might take a picture off Google. They might take a picture of their car, Photoshop it so that it actually looks a little bit, their car accident was actually a little bit worse, so they're therefore demanding more money from us. I think that's a big challenge, and trying to up our ability to spot those fraudulent claims and those fraudulent pictures and those documents. But AI, it is ever evolving. So it's making sure we're consistently keeping up to date with the latest technology is also a massive challenge.
Very nice, very good.
I don't know whether Olivia or Dan have got anything else to add to that one.
Dan, you work in risk? Have you got one that you want to add to that? And then I'll go.
I was keeping quiet. Well, I suppose I could. So I work in climate change risk at the minute. So one of the big challenges, that affects everybody, but it's definitely got an insurance angle to it, is the impact of climate change and what regulators, effectively the people who tell insurance companies what they have to do, what they're requiring us to do as a company in order to meet emissions targets and reduce our carbon footprint and be more sustainable as a business. That basically spreads down into every part of the business. So we, in terms of insurance, are we insuring risks properly? Are we insuring the right kinds of risks? Should we be, getting our customers to change their activities and change their actions, right through to us as a business? Are we, being as climate friendly as we can with our buildings and our properties? Are we investing in the right kinds of companies that are also, got low carbon footprints? There's a huge kind of climate angle. I think AI is probably a big one, like Katie said, and I couldn't speak on AI, but climate change is probably the other one in that sphere that definitely has a huge implication for insurance companies.
And I'll just add, thank you, Dan and Casey. I'll add one more so I work in learning and development, which forms part of HR, and a big one that we've sort of faced, which is it's a challenge and also an opportunity, but it is that hybrid working piece. So we've got a really relationship culture at NFU Mutual, and it has really been, how do we balance the new hybrid working which formed from COVID, to really make sure we maintain our culture, we retain top talent, because as I said, it's not quite as simple as it used to be where you get a job where you live anymore. There's a lot more flexibility. So really making sure that we're attracting, retaining the right talent and maintaining our culture is a challenge, but also a great opportunity. So you can spin it both ways.
Perfect. There you go, Hayley. I hope that answers your question. We've got some more loaded questions come up, so it's going to be like a mastermind for NFU Mutual here. So Stephen M says, can you share a success story or a particularly impactful project that a previous graduate in the program has worked on and how it benefited the company? Wow.
Oh, that's going to be mine, isn't it?
You're a previous graduate, Katie.
You go, Katie.
So I could talk about one of the recent project that I actually took up as part of my Developing Leaders program that I mentioned. So as part of the program, it's your role to go out, seek a problem within the business, and then you essentially construct a program and deliver something to improve that, to try and tackle that challenge. And the problem that myself and my project team came up with was, how do we know our business are contacting the right people within IT for their different needs and requirements? Because within IT, we're a 400, 500 strong department. So we're absolutely huge for an IT department. So different areas of the business can be going to anyone within IT. So what we wanted to do was actually create a one-stop shop for all things IT, where people can log on to. They actually know who to speak to about all their different IT needs. They know who their IT business partner is. They know when to contact the service desk and when not. We've also just introduced the use of a service chatbot as well within the company. So when people have any issues with their IT there and then, they can contact the chatbot, and it can give them sort of fast time, real time response instead of speaking to a human. So we created that one-stop shop, which is now being fed into our new intranet that we've just released to the whole company. So it's making things clearer to our company. It benefits the staff, and it also, from their perspective, they're able to get answers to their IT issues quicker. That then means they can go back to the end customer and continue providing that customer service that we're known for.
Well, there you go. I think that's a pretty good piece.
I reckon I've got a pretty good example, Olivia, from my buddy, actually. So we had interns in, I think, was it the first time last year?
Yeah.
That was the first year we had summer interns, and I was buddied with one of them. She was called Katie, and she was working in press and legal affairs. But her piece of work that she was involved with was absolutely like mind-blowing to me. She was involved with the Rural Crime Report. I think you'll be able to Google it and find it if you put NFU Mutual Rural Crime Report 2023. But, you know, for the 8 weeks that she was there, she was basically responsible for organising and setting up interviews with farmers, with the police, writing to MPs, drafting press statements. I think she drafted parts of the report. I think, you know, she had it go through different sections of approval. She was doing all sorts of things on this hugely visible project. And I remember going through her CV with her, and, you know, it was so difficult to condense it down to sort of 2 or 3 bullet points, because it was, I you know, for me, that was a success story, or, you know, a particularly impactful project. And that's the sort of thing, you know, that the graduate levels, you know, the graduates can get involved with, isn't it, Liv? It's those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, indeed. It sounds like NFU Mutual is the place to be. On to the next one here. Here we go. Tanya says, can you provide insights into the actuarial, that's the one, projects or challenges that graduates typically engage with during the actuarial graduate scheme, and how these contribute to their professional development?
So I'll be honest, the actuarial scheme isn't something that, in terms of the specific projects, that I know a huge amount about off the top of my head. I do know, in terms of actuarial, the sort of typical day-to-day they do is sort of analysing data for actuarial calculations. They'll create and enhance actuarial models, and then they'll help sort of communicate the results from these models effectively to help the company to inform business decisions. So that's their sort of day-to-day. If you want to drop me an email, what I can do is I can put my email in the chat, and then if I can go and find out a little bit more information about some sort of more specific project in that sector, and then come back to you. I think that was a fairly new graduate programme that we've started, so I can pop my email in the chat, and then anyone can reach out if they've got any more questions about that, if that's okay.
Perfect. That would help a lot, I'm sure, to the guys who are in the webinar.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'll move on to the next one from Josh. Josh says, hello all. Hello, Josh. Thank you for the session. Great to have you. I have a question. How does NFU Mutual adapt its graduate program to align with the evolving landscape of the insurance and financial services industry?
Oh, that's a big question. So every year, our graduate schemes aren't stuck. So they've evolved. And, you know, as Katie said, when she joined in 2017, she did a specific type of IT scheme. We now have many other different types of IT scheme. We have the same with multiple different areas. So each year, before we come up to our recruitment campaigns, we will be meeting with sort of senior leaders in each of the different business areas to see, you know, would you like a graduate, and what sort of things would you want them to be doing? And we refresh what sorts of projects they get involved in, what sort of their BAU will look like, you know, as things update and as things evolve. So what the scheme looked like, sort of, I think we first launched a scheme in 2010, but as you know, the years have progressed, the schemes are, you know, very different now than what they were at the start. In terms of technical training, each year we have sort of professional qualification and apprenticeship specialist who will sit down with the different business areas and really make sure that the qualifications they're doing are aligned to the right learning and the right providers. So we do really keep an eye on it and make sure that we're refreshing it each year as appropriate as things develop.
Very good answer. It's sort of along the same line of that, Tim's question. Tim says, hey, could you elaborate on how the marketing graduate scheme aligns with NFU Mutual's brand and customer engagement strategies, and how graduates play a role in these strategies?
Which scheme was that, sorry? The marketing scheme?
The marketing graduate scheme, yeah.
So that scheme will see people involved in sort of the marketing, digital and communication, so multiple different channels to really sort of enhance their awareness about the different ways we can communicate, the different digital platforms we can use, whether that's sort of digital advertising, whether that's, you know, TV advertising. And sorry, what was the second half of that question? I got lost.
How do the graduates play a role in those strategies?
Again,
how do they align with customer engagement strategies?
So they'll they'll be just rotating around the different placements, so marketing, comms and digital, and getting involved in sort of key projects that are defined by that business area. A big one, which was a project that Dan talked about before, was around sort of rural crime reporting, or it might be sort of creating new digital channels, seeing how we can embed that into our offering. I know there's a lot more talks around whether or not as a business we can be utilising more things like TikTok, which we never typically used to do, but the world's moving on, channels are evolving. Grads will just get involved in really key projects like that.
Perfect answer. Yous are flying through these. I'll go on to the next one. Sam says, what is the typical caseload or complexity of claims that graduates handle during the program, and what guidance or mentorship is available to help them succeed in these roles?
So I've never been a claims handler myself, so I can't give you a specific example, but I do know that through the, so I think our graduates, if you go to the customer services scheme, you might spend a year in claims, and we'll progress you and we'll give you the right training to grow that complexity. So we probably wouldn't throw you in the deep end in your first sort of week. You would start, you'd understand, you go through the training, and as you get sort of more embedded into your role, the complexity of the claims will increase. But you will have a mentor with you, and you'll have a placement manager, and you'll have the support of the talent team as well to sort of really guide you through that.
Mm-hmm. Dan said something about a buddy earlier. Did I hear that correct?
You did, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to just talk a bit about how that buddy system works, sort of when you join?
Yeah, I can. So I've been on both ends, I suppose. So when you join NFU Mutual as a grad, you're assigned a buddy, which is normally, it's always one of the grads in the year above. And they don't have to do sort of anything specific with you other than just check in with you and make sure you're okay. And that's actually, even though you've got so many other people doing that, from your managers to, people in your teams, it's quite nice to have that link to someone in the year above, someone who's kind of been through it as well. Someone who, is obviously a similar age to you as well. So we just used to have sort of like weekly catch-ups. We would just go for a coffee. And just talk really as friends. On the flip side of that, I've then been a buddy myself. So I'm a buddy now to some of the guys who've just joined this September. And I'm navigating that and just trying to do the same thing, just giving them sort of like a person they can contact for any help, or if they want to ask any, questions they think are silly. And just the same thing, just checking in with them. I had a buddy who was an intern as well. So she was only here for 8 weeks, but it was very much the same thing. And I think it's NFU Mutual is quite, it's quite big on, buddies and like mentors and mentees and coaches, to sort of broaden it out a little bit. And I think that's seen throughout the entire business. There's people of all levels who are kind of, making the most of that from one side or the other, I'd say. I don't know if you want to add to that, Liv, but.
Yeah, no, I think you smashed that answer there, Dan. We make sure that every new graduate has an appropriate buddy that is arguably informal, but also more of a mentor to them as well. So just someone to go to for the questions that you might think are stupid. What's my dress code for the first day? How do I get here? How do I get there? Who do I talk to about this? And so we really make sure that we put thought into who that right person is for that more sort of informal support, as well as the other lines of support we get in the form of the placement manager and the talent team.
And I just want to follow on from both those sort of answers. There is that even when you finish the scheme, there's a massive mentor community at NFU Mutual. So if you are looking for a specific mentor for certain aspects of advice, what we do have is we have a mentoring app, so an internal mentoring app, and each mentor that's gone through a specific mentor training course can put on there what kind of things they can mentor you in. So you can choose your mentor depending on your specific needs as well. So that mentor community still continues even after you finish the graduate scheme.
Very good. It does seem like a very good scheme, but then that leads us sort of onto this. Someone has asked, what sets the NFU Mutual graduate scheme apart from other graduate programs in the insurance and financial services industry?
So I think that's been touched on as we've gone through, but what I think the key thing for me is that I know a lot of graduate programs in other companies, you come in, you do your 2 years and there's nothing guaranteed at the end. We really nurture and grow all of our graduates from day one for years. I mean, so many of our graduates have been in, started in 2010, are still here. They're now senior leaders. So we really put that strong focus on that leadership development, on that nurturing, on that grow your own. That's so important to us. And I think another thing that sets us apart from the other sort of insurance in the financial services is because we're a mutual business model. So we're not one of those companies that is all about quick profits. So, if something's not working, we'll just get rid of a load of staff because we need to think about, it's not like that at all. It's very much what's the best thing long term? How do we maintain our long-term sustainable, profitable growth? And as part of that, be a great place to work and bring our people along with us. So I think the culture is a really big one. And as we've said before, you've got 3 years with a really structured program. So it's a long, a good phase of development, and everyone will complete relevant professional qualifications, which we will fund. It's not, it's provided for you. So I think it's a really, really great scheme.
It sounds like I want to go on it. Hopefully the people that are here would like to go on it as well. Now we're approaching 4 o'clock, but there's a very good question about Sophia. We'll end on it before the advice one for each one of you. Sophia says, why did you join NFU Mutual and what makes you stay? So who wants to go first?
Go on, Dan, you're smiling.
I thought you were going to pick on me. I suppose as the most recent one to join, why did I join? I think for me, I wanted to work for a company that I could sort of feel proud to work for, in like a multitude of ways. Is it a nice company? Is it, you say NFU Mutual you'll say it to grandparents and uncles and family friends, and everyone will go, oh yeah, nice company, actually, I've heard good things about them. And it just feels so nice to sort of be able to say, I work in insurance, but not that kind of cutthroat insurance that's all about profit. We work for NFU Mutual, which is about treating the customer as fairly as possible. And I think it just makes life so much more, it makes working there a lot more rewarding. So I think why I joined was probably because I liked the company for its reputation and for its sort of internal culture. And why I've stayed is because there's really no good reason for me to leave at this point. It's really, my development is mapped out, my progression is mapped out. I've got lots of friends. I look forward to, Olivia said, we only have to go into the office 1 day a week, but I'm in, at least 3 days, sometimes 4, just because it's fun to go in, as sort of cringy as that sounds. But I would say that's my answer.
Very good answer. I'll take your word for it.
Do you want me to go next?
Go for it. Yeah.
So before I started on the IT professional trainee scheme or the IT graduate scheme at NFU Mutual, I actually did a stint over my Easter holidays during my second year of uni as a project admin assistant for NFU Mutual. They were just advertising for a temp role, and coincidentally it fell over my Easter holidays. So I thought, I could do with some extra money, that'd be great. And when I was here, I got in contact with one of the guys that was on the graduate scheme, and he really sold it to me. And I think for me, going back to, Dan's slide, he talks about those 3 specific areas, and that was exactly something I was looking for as well. I wanted somewhere I could progress in my career. I wanted somewhere that I would invest in me, my development. I could learn new skills, and I had my eyes set on a big career, which I'm getting there. And also a big social life. When I joined, there was 20 people starting in my year on the graduate scheme, and it's just a great place. It really is. We keep hammering it in, and it is a reason it's a long-term objective, but it really is a great place to work. Everyone is just nice. It's just a nice company to work for. So hence why I applied, and I've stayed, because they've continued that investment in my career. You get pushed, you get stretched, but you've got all the support around you to help you exceed in your career, and everyone is just great. Oh, it sounded really cheesy at the end.
No, that sounded very good. That was the selling point.
Yeah,
that works very well. Well, thank you very much. It has reached 4 o'clock. So, do you have any final words of advice for the people of the webinar here who would like to join NFU Mutual? Any last points?
I think I gave my slides on advice,
yeah.
all around being yourself and, and doing your research and understanding why you want to apply for us. But I don't know if Dan and Katie, you wanted to add anything that you experienced during your sort of application process.
Oh, yeah. Have you got anything, Katie? Do you want to go?
I was going to say, just very quickly, I mean, you've got our names. So I'm Katie Barton. By all means, use methods like LinkedIn. So I think Dan's on LinkedIn. I don't know where you are, but as well. But reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'll be able to have a quick call. Even if you want to drop us a message on LinkedIn, please just chat to us. If there's any questions that you have, anything specific about the scheme, please reach out.
And what's the final date for applications closing?
10th of November, but get them in early.
10th of November. Get them in, everyone.
Get them in early. And just to add to what Katie said, though, hopefully you can all see the talent mailbox that I put on the group chat. But that's managed by myself and my team. So if you do have any further questions that you haven't had a chance to answer today, or if you want whoever asked the question around specific project of that scheme wants to follow that up, please do drop an email. I will come back to you.
Please do. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Olivia, Katie, Dan. Thank you, NFU Mutual, of course. Thank you for taking us through such an insightful webinar. I hope everyone took all that in and starts applying very, very soon before the 10th of November. Make sure everyone remembers that date. So thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next National Graduate Week webinar, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Cheerio. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.